October 24, 1940, 40-hour landmark. The federal 40-hour workweek that took effect under the Fair Labor Standards Act marked a defining moment in American labor history. It represented the culmination of a long struggle to establish legal boundaries for work hours, ensuring that employees could expect predictable schedules and compensation for overtime labor. Before this landmark reform, many workers in the industrial era regularly endured grueling weeks that often exceeded 60 hours. The FLSA's adjustment to a 40-hour limit created a national standard that reshaped employment practices across the country. The journey to the 40-hour week began with the original Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, which set the first nationwide maximum workweek at 44 hours. This law, part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal, reflected the federal government's commitment to regulating labor conditions after the Great Depression. 2 years later, Congress amended the act to reduce the maximum workweek to 40 hours. That reduction took effect on October 24, 1940, and solidified the concept of the 40-hour workweek as the legal standard for covered workers in interstate commerce and related industries. The 40-hour amendment was more than a numerical adjustment. It introduced a new economic and social expectation that labor should have defined limits. The law required employers to pay workers time-and-a-half wages for any hours beyond 40 in a given week. This provision helped discourage excessive work hours while providing fair compensation for overtime. It also created incentives for businesses to hire additional workers rather than overwork existing employees, a policy that supported employment growth during a period of economic recovery. The impact of the 1940 change extended beyond wages and hours. It signaled a shift in how the nation viewed the relationship between labor and quality of life. The 40-hour week offered workers time for rest, family, and community participation, values that were increasingly recognized as essential to national stability. By embedding these principles into federal law, the FLSA helped define a balance between economic productivity and human well-being that would shape modern employment standards for generations. The 40-hour standard also influenced collective bargaining. Union organizations, such as the American Federation of Labor and the Congress of Industrial Organizations, had long advocated for shorter work weeks as a path to healthier working conditions. The FLSA's federal endorsement of their efforts strengthened organized labor's role in negotiating wages and benefits. It became a foundation for future labor reforms, including occupational safety regulations and paid leave policies that emerged in later decades. From an administrative perspective, the FLSA and its 1940 amendment provided employers with clear federal guidelines for compliance. Industries adapted scheduling practices to conform with the law, and payroll systems were updated to account for overtime calculations. Over time, these standards became embedded in business operations, creating predictable structures for both employers and employees. The 40-hour workweek became a benchmark not only for labor law, but also for broader cultural expectations of full-time employment. The enduring legacy of the 1940 implementation lies in its stability. Despite changes in technology, industry, and economic conditions, the 40-hour week remains a core measure of standard employment. It has served as a framework for debates on work-life balance, flex time, and remote work policies in later eras. The principle that full-time work should be limited to 40 hours continues to guide policy discussions about labor rights, productivity, and health. The historical significance of the 40-hour workweek extends beyond its legal foundation. It represented a collective recognition that the nation's workforce deserved both fair pay and reasonable hours. The amendment's success demonstrated how law could shape social norms and improve daily life for millions of Americans. By establishing a consistent federal limit on working hours, the 1940 reform strengthened the economic and moral framework of the modern employment system. The 40-hour workweek stands as one of the most influential labor achievements in United States history. It balanced the demands of industrial progress with the rights of workers and laid the groundwork for the employment standards that define modern American life. Its introduction on October 24 under the Fair Labor Standards Act ensured that the nation's growth would proceed with justice, efficiency, and respect for the dignity of labor. For enthusiasts of historical ephemera, visit history-collectors.com to find collectibles that might complement your collection. You can own a piece of history.